financial assumptions being made as it is in terms of any reduction in services to councils. It's a piece of work that needs to be done to identify councils' concerns and any broadband issues. It's not part of this budget saving.
I don't know proposals to ask for maybe get environmental management service. Okay.
Well, I'm with you on the first thing.
Okay, no.
I'm really sorry. I'm concerned this figure is bigger, and I suppose I'm thinking with the councils that this figure is saving. I don't see, if you don't have a series of companies which are offering this service, I'm worried where you got the actual figure from.
As I said, that's the information that I will circulate this week.
Will that include who you spoke to and what they offered? Can I have that specifically?
Yeah, I think it's important in terms of going through this process. In terms of improved procurement and contracting arrangements, we obviously use a level of intelligence to get to a broad identification of what funding savings we can receive. Indeed, sometimes an estimation of what the cost might be in terms of any new tendering facilities. We use that intelligence appropriately. I think to try to draw out anything that will show the market what we're considering would actually be counterproductive in terms of circulating who we have already been spoken to. I think it's important that we recognise that as part of the procurement process, that has to be done through an appropriate method. It just needs to be done through appropriate quality checks, financial checks, etc. So I think we do have obviously soft conversations with organisations. That's what you'd expect us to do. We want to draw down that intelligence, and on the basis of that intelligence, our procurement team working with Deborah and their team identified that we could say £270,000 over 5 years. So I'm happy for the information to be shared about the types of conversations we've been having, written notes about the organisations who've been having those with, because they were commercially sensitive. Is that right?
Sorry, Chair. Yeah, that's what I was asking. I wasn't so much asking whether I've done full procurement process. I understand that it's on the dealing afterwards. I just didn't get from this that it's spoken to a number and it was a fetal. That's what really I was doing.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you. Trying to respond on that. Managing the money. So any probably got questions to Tom and Malcolm? We don't touch on.
Just ballpark figure, Chair, on what it means to the customer at the end of the phone. We had a long discussion last night about booking fees for certain facilities. But this is each time I make a transfer, I go to the shop, for example, there's a little bit built into the shopkeeper in case of me or someone from the account to sign. What does it actually mean when I go to do it?
That one would be for the transaction charges, effectively it would mean whatever we decide to charge them. At the moment there is no charge to somebody who pays by credit or debit to us. We actually pay the credit card and debit card company. So this is actually passing that charge onto the payer themselves. There are a variety level of charges. All the credit card and debit card companies charge different levels. This is assessed on the basis of recharging the full recharge, which was raised about £38,000. That could mean, as an approximate average, which it's about £2.90 would be the average charge, but clearly if you pay more, then the charge goes up for us because it's based on whatever payment you've made to us. Working on this, we've based it on about £2.90 would be the average charge somebody would face. But that, again, the important thing for this is you cannot make a profit doing it. So, for instance, that would be on a credit card payment, whereas debit card payments are much lower. As an average, it's somewhere between 2.5–3% we would be paying as a credit card, whereas if you look at a debit card payment, it's about 0.15 to about 0.2 is what we would pay, so it's considerably different. But as a general average, that is how it's been worked out.
I just asked a question on the transaction charges. I understand some organisations, including Rewire Europe and Newcartax online, there's a charge for credit card as the charges to organisations as opposed to a debit card. So if we decided to apply transaction charges to credit card customers, but not to debit card customers, what would the impact of that? Would that have
Clearly that would impact on the total savings available. This is based on the fact that people wouldn't change to a lower level. Clearly, as you suggested, we chose not to charge on debit cards. What would happen is people would potentially, because a lot of people have both, they would move to the lesser one. We would then save from having paid previously a number of people at the credit card level, which is about £2.90, down to about 30p, which people on debit cards would pay. Similarly, as it mentions there, we do have other payment options, which is PayPoint and the post office. As a general average, if we use that as about 50p, there would be a saving if people didn't use credit cards, but we would still be paying something as a council, but less than what we do if people pay credit card charges.
I'm just slightly concerned that people paying credit cards maybe already with debt issues. Is there an assessment being made or would we be able to assess issues?
At the moment, we don't make an assessment of whether or not people can afford to pay by their credit cards. Obviously, one of our primary roles is to collect the money that is owed to the local authority. In fact, charging people for using credit cards alone for this is a saving if they move to one of the lesser charges of paying. If they move to a debit card, they should in general, overdraft facilities there are a lot less than what people may pay under a credit card circumstance. But clearly, if we reduce the total available to us on 38,000, that will come down depending on how many people move to that type of method of payment.
Is this charge just being applied to credit cards and debit cards as well?
For the 38,000, yes, that would be a split between credit and debit cards charging both.
Are you concerned that this may have disincentive for people to use those type of payments?
Clearly, that's what we've got to try and balance to make sure we don't finish up with people, thus creating arrears that people don't actually pay, which in effect that's where we have to try and balance what we would charge. It is believed that if we charge approximately, and this would work on credit cards, so about 2%, does that put people off? Effectively, we believe it wouldn't create that much more additional arrears, although we do actually have to accept that people may be put off. The clear thing, as we've just suggested, is that people would move from credit to debit or debit to PayPoint and post office payments.
I'm completely novice when it comes to finance. I'm really better. I'm probably better at asking these questions. But would this also apply to sending direct debits? Is that different?
No, it would not affect direct debits because that is the cheapest and easiest way to collect the money. It would in effect push more people hopefully onto paying by direct debit in a variety of areas of payments that we collect.
Last one, and I promise to look last. Have we got, so if people then choose to go and pay by cash, do you expect there to be an increase in what people are going to pay by cash if that's the case? Has council got sufficient provision to kind of
Through each year, we have one cash office ourselves, which is based in Birkenhead. Cash payments can be made either at PayPoint or post offices throughout the borough, but there is a charge, and we are not allowed to charge people to use PayPoint or the post office because that is part of the contractual. It is our belief that it wouldn't actually increase significantly the number of people that would use our Birkenhead cash office. It is clearly cash it's somewhat like face-to-face contact. It is the most expensive way of collecting money. We do not want to put people moving into the most expensive way of collecting. We believe that they would use other methods that are non-cash rather than using particular credit cards. And the online system is clearly there, it is automated, which is still the most favoured way of trying to move people into not having someone helping them make a payment.
Thank you, Chair. Very briefly, if we were to only make half the charges on credit cards, what would be the reduction in the savings amount?
I don't have the exact figures. Approximately about 10,000 of the 38,000 would be debit card related, because obviously the lower rates, the remaining 28 would be credit card related. Clearly, if people move from credit to debit, it doesn't say all of it, because then it's going to be an additional payment that we would otherwise make with debit cards. As an approximation, 2810.
Bit of a roundabout question, this, but I think hopefully you'd be able to answer it. Would be if you're paying by normal debit card, the cash basically instantaneously into our accounts. Credit card, how long does it take to get it? Because if you've got the money already in the bank, we've got that money there to gain interest on.
Thank you, Chair. Through credit cards and with debit cards, you would advise the next day. As you say, with debit cards, the money arrives the following day. With credit card charges, it's normally 2 days.
Yeah, I think getting on the issue is more and more we're moving to a cashless society. London Transport next year will be totally cashless. You have to be travelling around London, you won't be able to pay any cash. That's part of the way we're moving forward. People are more shopping online. When you shop, you pay a premium price because you use a credit card. That's an actual fact. You do that all of it. You pay a premium price. It's part of the process. You don't pay a premium price when you use a debit card because the actual person who receives it pays that small amount of money. I think the saving is made in the fact that we are not passporting on or absorbing the charge that will be charged by the credit card company. So we're passporting that back onto the customer. In fact, so that's where our savings is made. So the more people who can passport onto a different system, the more savings we'll make. So in the interim period, maybe 28,000, but the more will become cashless, the better it is for us because it reduces the cost of processing tax. We're getting on more on semantics as opposed to actually what it's supposed to do.
Any more questions or comments? Okay. The next one is improving access to the council. Any questions? Tom?
Couldn't my paperwork show that the next one is devolution? Improving access to the council. It's not in the next section, so we've got it on page 16. We can't put it in the further so in the supplementary page we go from managing the budget to council transfer. And I've got a question.
Yeah, there actually, for this particular option, there is no more detail maybe about background with that, simply because there isn't much more to say about those paragraphs. It's a amalgam of polygraph movement to bank, it's about civil efficiency savings back office, and it should come with savings that we're going to make by moving some support to put online. There is the background maybe, but that's also what it's saying.
Still got a question.
Sorry, ma'am.
It says, we'll see the council make savings through making the call centre more efficient in the first instance. And my question simply is, how and what do you mean by the first instance and what might be the second instance?
Through you, Chair, basically this links into the wider transformational programme that we have with regard to improving customer access. Effectively effectively we are looking at moving things away from, again, which we've just mentioned with cash being the most expensive to the cheapest, which would be direct debit. This is exactly the same thing, but obviously on a much bigger scale. It is moving people away from what I would refer to as mediated access. That's the posh way of saying you're actually talking to somebody, to non-mediated access, which is where you do it yourself. You do not need to talk to somebody to complete whatever it is you are doing with the local authority. So in part we are looking at improvements in the call centre already, using some of the technology we do have available that you can use on some things where you do not need to talk to people. You could leave information for us either on the website or via the call centre technology. That is available, as well as improving some of the work we've already done. That should mean that you do not need to talk to people. So it is the call centre where we looked initially for improvements. To answer the second part of the question, quite clearly it is on all customer access mediums, which would be in part the area that I'm responsible for with one-stop shops, people coming in and seeing us. It is looking at then maximising our use of the website, which is people using contact and not having to have somebody at the end. Because again, on the website there are two levels that you would not see. One is, in fact, it's a message and somebody behind the office does something with the message you've done. Effectively, that is a contact that we have to deal with. There are other types on the website already which will look the same as those, but in fact the machine does it by itself and will update and alert the officer that needs to do something rather than have somebody in the middle. And that is in part trying to improve that access to the council, which will allow us to be able to do as much as we do now, or as much as possible within the office, reducing budgets that we all face. So it will be all of our customer access areas that we will be able to do that.
Thank you. I suspected it might be that. Will there be a full equality assessment so that vulnerable sectors of our communities who may struggle to deal with that evolving situation?
Yeah, we have to do EIA assessments and risk assessments on all changes that we propose. And clearly one of the biggest things about moving to what we describe as self-access is that who is going to be the least capable of using that self-access channel, whereas many people are capable, we recognise that the least vulnerable are the ones that are most difficult to try and get onto that access channel, which obviously we already have plans as to where people can access it, to try and get people more and more used to using online access, because it's not just about the local authority going that way. As has been mentioned, car tax is now used. A lot of public service areas and a lot of commercial companies now do that and now expect. And it is trying to assist people who are vulnerable to use our services and obviously the wider services available online.
Sorry, Mark. I really welcome this saving option, not just because it's a saving, but it's also going to improve service. So some of the ways we do things are archaic. I'll give you a really good example. If you want to book swimming lessons through the Wirral Borough Council, you have to turn up on a Sunday morning and queue. And it's on a first come, first served basis. That takes 2 to 3 hours because of the volume of people that turn up, and they have to take on extra staff to cope with the queue on overtime on a Sunday. And the sooner we get some of these things sorted out and start back around the business, the better.
Thanks, Chair. It's just related to improvements in online channels. So people are able to use contact the council for such things as booking leisure and sports facilities. Just want to make sure that there's no duplication here. When we talk about leisure, does that include the Floral Pavilion? Because in the community movement last night, we talked about efficiencies.
Through the Chair, no, it doesn't include the Floral Pavilion, effectively because they are more commercially orientated. They are looking at various ways that they will have people access them. They have to make separate decisions with regards to how they run what is a commercial enterprise of attracting people to the theatre. So no, this does not include the Floral, albeit they obviously do have access to the support mechanisms we have with regards to both IT and customer services. No, it doesn't affect them directly. They do look at that separately.
Thank you, Chair. The efficiencies you mentioned, does that include job losses?
At the moment, there are no direct job losses with regards to the 319,000 before you. that would be removal of vacant posts that would otherwise be filled to be required to do that, which it is in effect a removal of the total number of staff in the establishment we will have to fill somewhere.
Short, quick supplementary. The point that Councillor Johnson made about, I don't know this, that you have to turn up on a Sunday at 3 in the morning to book a swimming lesson or something. Moving to online efficiencies are great for some people. What provisions can I ask you made for those that don't have access to online technology and to use those? What would you do with those?
Again, this is in part of the balance of the wider transformation project, where we're looking at both trying to move more people, effectively those who can, to use this kind of facility, leaving whatever is then left for those that can't, and trying to encourage people to use the cheapest alternative access. Again, as part of our responsibility with regard to the libraries, most of our libraries, all of our libraries have public access PCs where staff and volunteers will be able to help you get onto online access to be able to show you how you access this kind of thing, not just for the council but for other areas, to help them do that and start learning how to use online access facilities that are increasingly being seen across all areas.
I think in a previous conversation somewhere else, I think there might be 4 staff vacancies in the course of reform and local. You know, I live in Cheshire, Mr. Block, I see from their website that they actually want to introduce the idea of booths, perhaps dressing up this library staff facility into the sort of thing that people face when they go on job search, not really painful, whatever it might be, but to actually mark around this is the I know it's a bit fun, what it might do. So I think, are we trying to mark it roundly back? This is like the little booth where you can go to, and this is where your questions will be answered. And again, it involves perhaps having a better menu or better explanation on the walls of the damn thing, so that people can follow it through in easy steps.
Again, to you, Chair. With regards to booths, we do already have self-access kiosks or booths. They're already available at the Conway Centre in central Birkenhead. We are looking at putting them into another couple of one-stop shops, one of which may well be the Seacon one here, and that is trying to focus. They are self-access. It's effectively access to the website and other available websites. You are restricted as to which websites you can get on these kiosks, and to be able then to do some self-access work with regards to that. So there are a number of things. So for instance, at Birkenhead at the moment, Property Pool is one of the big access points where people look at available accommodation, applying for local welfare assistance, that kind of thing, as well as looking at more information. They are branded as a real kiosk. There's no, at the moment, corporate name to them other than it is a self-access point. They are on test. They are being remarkably successful. In fact, that then means that we are able to have our people who will then deal with you on the booths. They're able to look at more complicated situations with individuals that need an actual person to talk to them about their query.
Thank you, Chair. A small observation. If you go to start referring to use online services and book online, presumably you have to do so by credit card or debit card. You now introducing not a charge as such, but you recruit back the charge you get. Are you not concerned that this will have this disincentive when you use your new service, or are you going to get the similar teams with less people?
Again, in the context of how much we are charging for credit card or debit card payments, because the option is available, we then have to balance that. Yes, you always accept that when you bring an introduction of a charge, just as what happens when we increase on a year-on-year basis on council tax, we can project on council tax roughly how much when it goes up, how many more people may not pay us. We have to try and balance and know what we will do. I don't believe that this will significantly impact on people not paying us for a bill that they currently owe us.
Just very quickly on the face of it, it would appear to be more expensive to book online if both things come into that listen. That's just a concern.
Tender lines of the rest of the bus stops and the council tax collection. Time moving on, so that's time as big as possible.
Can I ask, do we have a specific amount council tax arrears have to arrive at before they are obliged to move to legal recovery? Are we obliged to move to legal recovery at a specific amount? And if we don't, do central government step in?
Through you, Chair, just for clarification, do you mean that if somebody owes us £10 and we're still behind, would we summon somebody, or do you mean we've got more than 20% of it is a year end, which one it is?
Yeah, do we have a figure whereby the council will say we're going to move to court action?
Through the Chair, we are prescribed by legislation as to what we have to do with regards to recovery. We have to give you a reminder, give you then a warning that your instalments have been removed, give you 7 days to pay in full, and thereafter we can summon you. It has always been that there is no lower amount that we would summon somebody for, given that they owe. Effectively, we can do it if you owe us the amount. Clearly, internally, we do make a decision as to what is a reasonable amount to do on normal, and then pick up the lower amounts later on in the year when they may have grown, because the obvious problem of it, if you owe us £1 and we then summon you, that may well then increase, but there is no legal lower limit for us not to do it.
What's the actual cost of the court order to approve it? And I take it we're not entitled to make profits on these things, so, and what's the benchmarks of what the Liverpool, for example, charge?
Again, to you, Chair, we are not allowed to make a profit. Every year we justify to the clerk and magistrates our costs. So this year we have actually shown that why it costs actually slightly more than £85 to prove that our costs are being met. If I understand the question, what we actually pay the court, every local authority has to pay for every summons £2 for every court that's given. The other £82 we have to justify as our costs, and that's why £85 is then charged to either non-payment of council tax and business rates. With regards to locality, ours are now in line with most of the Merseyside and Cheshire authorities within about £5 to £10. Some are slightly ahead of us, some I don't think there's any less, or I prefer to go back and check, I don't think there's